We are here. We are making it happen. Another episode of the PokerNews podcast. My name is Jeff Platt, joined as always by Chad Holloway. Chad, back at home base, I see.
I am. Yeah, I traveled back home from Parx, Pennsylvania. My first visit there over the weekend. Very exciting. We'll be talking a little bit about the $1,100 main event they had later in the episode. Enjoyed it. It was a nice East Coast visit. The weather was a little nicer over there than it is here in Wisconsin. And Parx, very nice property. I was very impressed. The turnouts were great. The structures were great. So I'm glad that I went. And
Good.
you were down in San Diego, right?
Yeah, down in San Diego at Jamul Casino for RunGood's first stop on the West Coast. We will chat with RunGood boss man, the president, Tana Karn, a little bit later in the show. Great time for me on the West Coast. I'll get a little bit more into that later. Great time for you on the East Coast. So it's all good for us on the PokerNews podcast. We hope that you all listening have had a good last week as well. We would like to thank our friends at Run It Once for sponsoring this podcast. OneStopRun/PNPod. That is OneStopRun/PNPod for an exclusive deposit bonus for the listeners of this Poker News podcast. And speaking of Run It Once, Chad, the man, the myth, the legend, Phil Galfond just tweeted. Do we have a breaking news sounder? Can we do the bam, 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 something like that? Galfond tweets, I needed some time away from the first Galfond Challenge match, more than I'd realized. After mentally resetting and a lot of careful contemplation, I was able to make a tough decision with a clear head. Thanks for your patience. Update here. All right, so let's click on this post. The title is Making a Tough Decision on Challenge Number 1, and he says, I'm going to keep playing. Phil Galfond says, let's go. That's it. That is the entire post. It is, I'm going to keep playing. He says, Benavidi, bring it. Let's go. Back to work for Phil Galfond. Chad, your thoughts?
I love the post because I seen the tweet and I clicked it thinking, okay, I'm going to get to read. He usually has long posts, and I was going to get some explanation of how he came to this decision and what he did during his time off and things like that. But no, he got straight to business. 4 words. I'm going to keep playing, and I'm excited about it. I feel he must be a little more re-energized, refocused, and who knows, maybe he'll come back and he can stem the tide a little bit or whatever, cut off the bleeding, whatever you want to call it. I'm skeptical that he'll be able to win. I don't think that's going to happen yet. It's a deep hole to dig out of, but maybe he can mitigate the losses a little bit. So we'll see.
It would help so much for his confidence, right, moving forward. Let's say he won 200,000 euros over the next couple of weeks. So he's still down a ton, but don't you feel like an upswing at the very end would just enhance his confidence so much moving into all of his other matches?
Yeah, absolutely. But we got to look at the flip side too. We're excited right now. He's back. Yeah. He's the hero of this store. We don't know Benavidi, who the real person is here. Galfond is the hero. So everyone's rooting for him, but it could go. He gets another €1 million loss or 2, whatever. That's a possibility. And, that certainly wouldn't be very good momentum going into the other matches.
Chad always rooting against the hero, rooting for the bad guy at the end of the movie. Unbelievable.
I mean, you see a lot of this comic stuff in the background.
Yeah.
There are some villains in there, So
there are some villains that you enjoy.
Yeah.
That Chad Holloway is a fan of. Let's move on to the World Poker Tour. The WPT Fallsview Poker Classic at the Fallsview Casino Resort just wraps up with a familiar winner. It's the 3rd World Poker Tour title for Eric Afriat. He wins about $380K USD. He takes this one down. I mean, Chad, 3 WPT titles. That is somewhat impressive, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, almost 4. If you think he finished runner-up in a Seminole Hard Rock.
Yeah.
And so he came close to a 3rd place, or a 3rd title prior. Here he finally gets it, but, 1 away from 4. Obviously, when you put, a list together of top WPT players, Eric Afriat has to be on that list. I mean, 3 times gracing your name on the Champions Cup is impressive. I'll admit, when I seen that he took it down again, I thought, wow, this guy is he's obviously a great tournament player and a WPT superstar.
Yeah, I'll admit that I was surprised as well. He's only the 6th player in WPT Champions Club history to win 3 or more titles. And I mean, he ran deep in WPT 5 Diamond. It's just like he's always deep in a World Poker Tour event. And I think, Chad, that this gives hope for, I think he'd be the first to say this, that like a little bit more hope for the amateurs of the world. Like Eric Afriat is not a GTO guy, right? He's just a field player, and this shows that field players can succeed on the World Poker Tour. I wonder if a field player will succeed at the LA Poker Classic, which starts on Saturday. Just one day one for this one. It is a 10K buy-in. You can register up until the start of level 11 on day 2. And Chad, I got to tell you, this is one of my favorite events of the year. This is one of the most prestigious events on the calendar, I think.
Yeah, the LAPC, we talked about it in the last episode. Just this massive tournament series that runs at the beginning of every year. It's always exciting then when you get the capstone on it, the World Poker Tour event, long, rich history, and I think it's going to be another great turnout. I mean, if you looked at the field sizes for a lot of these preliminary events, it's been really impressive what Matt Savage and company are doing out there. I've never been. I'd love to get out there. LAPC, Commerce, I've got to experience it sometime because it looks like it's one of poker's hottest spots. And when you look, we're going to talk about a tournament here coming up. You look at this tournament, the LAPC Million, it took place during the WPT Falls View. It took place during the Parx event I just talked about, during the RunGood at Jamul Casino in San Diego. There was a lot of competition in the United States this past weekend. And so for them to continue to kill it there, it's really impressive.
Yeah, let's just get right to it. 1,390 entries in the LAPC Million, $1 million guarantee. That one was crushed. A 5-way chop between some names that you might recognize: Anthony Wynn, Jared Greiner, Scott Stewart, Ivan Emanuele, George Fuchs. A 5-way chop for it all. A great turnout, like you said. I'm really looking forward to the 10K, and they have a couple 25K high rollers as well. I mean, this 10K, day 1, 60-minute levels. Days 2 and 3, 90-minute levels. Days 4 and 5, 120-minute levels. Like, it's just absurd. And then the final table will be delayed. It will be filmed for television at the HyperX Esports Arena in Las Vegas. Live stream on a delay via PokerGO. So you'll be able to check that out on both Fox Sports and on PokerGO. And if you live in Vegas, or if you will be in Vegas at the beginning of April, I highly encourage you to head out to one of these WPT final tables, because it's a little bit different, and it's I think great entertainment value at a final table for not being able to see the whole cards of players in a live audience. I think they do the very best job that they can, and it's a job that they're continuing to get better at the World Poker Tour. So let's shift from the World Poker Tour to the World Series of Poker. Now, last week, Chad, we talked a little bit about some of the online events that the World Series of Poker announced. They haven't come out with an exact a press release or an announcement of sorts, but I've seen some different events pop up on the calendar, and I'll run through these. Let's see, about 10 events or so that have just, I think, turned up. Maybe they were on there prior, maybe they're new, so I'll run through them real quick. We have a $2,500 mixed triple draw on June 1st, a 3K horse on June 7th, $2,500 no-limit freeze-out on June 11th. A week later, a 3K no-limit hold-'em freeze-out on June 19th. It's a $2,500 9-game mix. The horse games, no-limit hold-'em, pot limit Omaha, both limit and no-limit, deuce to 7. A 5K no-limit 6-max on June 21st. July 5th will feature a 3K limit 6-max. July 8th, a 2-day event, a 3K no-limit 6-max. July 10th, 3K PLO 6-max, and a $2,500 mixed big bet towards the end of the series on July 13th. And Chad, I feel like this just kind of fills in some of the holes that we were seeing in the World Series of Poker schedule. Like, okay, we need to plug some in with the buy-ins from $2,500 to 5K.
Yeah, these are the filler events on the schedule.
Yeah.
I think, that's pretty accurate. I don't think they need much fanfare. There might not be a press release. Maybe they just filled them in there as needed. I'm looking at the WSOP.com schedule right now. They have all the events they've announced, the dates, the times, some details on them, but they haven't labeled them yet. So, for instance, they don't have event number 1, $1,000 no limit hold-'em freeze-out, and so on and so forth. I expect that once the schedule is 100% finalized, we'll see that change made. They'll put the event numbers down. That'll be it. We'll probably hear something at that point. But maybe right now they're just doing some fine-tuning. Who knows? Maybe they're working behind the scenes on some details on another event or two. We really don't know. But I think for the most part, it seems like the schedule is probably 95% solidified?
Yeah, I would say so. Okay, so prediction time. So over the last couple months, we've seen a decent amount of World Series of Poker press releases, and I do like the staggered release and just let it build, let the anticipation build for everything. So do you think that this last announcement, I mean, I think it's safe to say there's one more announcement left, and it will effectively include the complete schedule. Do you think that's all it will include, or do you think there's one more surprise that the WSOP has up its sleeves? I'm going to say one more surprise. So I think this next press release we get is the final schedule. It features a bunch of these, in between 2,500 to 5K event, and then just one new event, kind of like that mystery bounty, just one that we have not seen before. That's just my thoughts. I just think we end it with a bang. Like this press release is like, hey, schedule's out, we're good to go. And also we have the brand new blank.
Yeah, the new Jeff Platt Classic or
yeah,
like
maybe.
that.
Yeah, I've been in negotiations with the World Series. Yeah.
I mean, I hope you're right. I'll say that. I would love to see one big event that gets the whole poker world energized and talking about, this new addition to the schedule. It could happen for sure, but I could see it just being a blah. The schedule's finalized.
Sure,
make your preparations. Let's go from there. But who knows? I guess it's, with the WSOP and a lot in the poker world, I've learned it's just, you just got to be patient. You just got to wait and see what comes your way. So I do think, though, it's early. It's only the end of February as we're recording this. There's a lot of time between now and the WSOP. So I feel like there's got to be something that they have to do in between now and then to keep the excitement up or to keep, people interested. So maybe some sort of a big announcement like you just alluded to.
And it's very possible that this last press release, or maybe there are two more, and one is like, hey, the schedule's complete. Like you said, make your arrangements, get down here. And then the grand finale of sorts is, hey, we have a new player of the year system. Here's what it is. Here's the prizes that we are including. And we're definitely looking forward to that information. We'll keep you all posted there. The World Series of Poker Circuit came by Las Vegas last week to stop by at the lovely Rio All Suites Hotel, Resort, Casino, whatever you want to call it. Bradley Pinson wins the main event. 747 entries for this one. Hinson takes down almost $210,000. We see in the write-up on PokerNews some good coverage there. He said, I almost cried a second ago thinking about just how cool it is. His parents were waiting up for him on the East Coast. And Chad, this just seems like a cool story for the North Carolina native.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, the World Series of Poker at the Rio. But real quick, Jeff, I had to ask my reporters who were there live reporting this event for PokerNews, what's it like to be at the Rio, not during the summer, during the regular WSOP? I told them I hope I never have to find out. I don't want to be at the Rio. I think I've mentioned this fact to you before. I've worked 10 years, a decade of WSOPs, 2 months roughly out of the year. That's 20 months. That's more than a year, almost 2 years of my life it being at the Rio. I'm not there 24/7, but even if I'm there, 12 hours a day, give or take, I've spent a year of my life within the confines of the Rio. So that's enough for me. The summer limited to that, but obviously the World Series of Poker Circuit does pretty well there. I was following the live updates. I'm really happy to see, Louise Francois. I'm going to butcher that last name. I'm sorry, Louise, but she took 6 for $41,000. Mm-hmm. Congrats to her. And then Adam Hendricks. That's a name I see all the time, especially in the Vegas events. He's a young gun. He was at a win final table last year that I covered. Just keep an eye out for him. And we were just talking about the WSOP. I'll make my bold prediction right now here at the end of February. Adam Hendricks is going to win a World Series of Poker bracelet.
Oh, baby, that's strong. That is a strong prediction for those massive fields. All right, keep your eyes on Adam Hendricks. And I'm looking at a picture of the final table, and it's not too flashy. I think, the World Series of, and I love the Rio for the World Series. I've said this before. I think it's spacious. It's convenient parking wise. You don't have to deal with any strip traffic. It's great. You just might not see me at the Rio like you, Chad, from August 1st, to May 26th or whenever the series starts. And these players at a final table will have a bit more of a featured table experience if they do final table a World Series of Poker event. Martin Zamani wins the World Series of Poker Circuit High Roller. Zamani defeats a stacked field. He takes down almost $90,000 for that win in the $2,200 High Roller. Chad, do you think that the World Series will start to move this High Roller buy-in up a couple notches at different stops across the country next season?
There are a few. So most of the high rollers on the WSOP circuit are at the $2,200 price point, but there are a few stops that I think tease it up to like $3,250 or $3,300, right in that price range. And I think it's just dependent upon the venue, the market. Obviously, you don't want to have a $3,300 or $5,000 high roller at Horseshoe Southern Indiana.
Yeah,
it's going to get 9 people, if that. But I do think in certain markets like this one in Vegas, for 2,200, they got 179 entries, which is decent. It's among probably the biggest high roller on the circuit each year. But I think that Vegas market could easily support like a $5,000 high roller.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind them teasing it up in Vegas and maybe at some other stops as well. The Hard Rock Tampa that just wrapped up might be another example of where they could get away with a little bit bigger of one. But I do like, for the most part, on the WSOP circuit, consistency, right? So, if you go to a stop like Horseshoe Hammond, where I'm going to be this weekend, I know that some of the events, the satellites, things like that, the price points, the structures are going to be almost the same as I can find at, say, the WSOP circuit at the Bike. And I think a lot of players appreciate that.
Are you going to play or to work?
I'm going to play on Friday.
There we go.
I'm going to drive down the C2E2. It's the third biggest comic convention in the United States, is in Chicago. The first being San Diego, second being New York. Chicago, though, it's huge. I'm going to go down there Friday, spend the day there, go play some satellites Friday night, and then fire day 1B of the main event on Saturday.
Oh, let's go. Jumping into the main, a beautiful weekend lined up for Chad Holloway. We want to take a moment to thank our friends at GG Poker. GG Poker, it's taking the world by storm. Here's more about GG Poker from Daniel Negreanu.
What's up, people? Dean Eggs here. As you may have heard, I signed on as an ambassador for GG Poker, and you may be wondering why. Well, the key reason is the product, okay? They have the absolute best software on the market, not just the desktop, but also for mobile. In addition to that, they really have invested into this GG Masters, right? It's a $150 buy-in freeze out. You know how I feel about freeze outs. And there's also a big carrot at the top. Leaderboard prize up to $500,000. Each and every week so far, there's been added money. So come get yours. Use sign-up code PokerNews.
All right, thanks so much to Real Kid Poker and the good people at GG Poker. We look forward to another one of Daniel Negreanu's streams on GG. And you heard the man. You can use the sign-up code PokerNews for an exclusive deposit bonus. So, Chad, we talked about this a little bit right off the top. I was in San Diego for RunGood's first stop on the West Coast at the lovely Jamul Casino, which, I didn't know what to expect. You're going to an Indian reservation a little bit inland from San Diego. And this place was sleek. I mean, it was classy. It was nice. 9-handed for the tournament. The chips were nice. The cards were nice. The dealers were great. The floor was great. My personal experience, Chad, was not fantastic. After finishing 12th in the bounty event, don't mean to brag, for a whole $467, busted about 19 bullets in the deep stack. And then come the main event, we make day 2. The day 2 comes back with 60. 37 players cash, and I finish in 38th place.
Ooh.
That would be the stone cold bubble. Get the chips
hurts.
in with the king jack of spades because I'm the best. This guy calls with 9s because he's the worst. Obviously, I'm a huge favorite with the king jack of spades against 9s. Flop comes queen 10x. Open-ended straight draw. How do I miss? The turn is a spade. Open-ended straight draw, flush draw, and overs. How do I miss the river? I missed on the river, and I go home with the stone cold bubble performance.
All right, Jeff, real quick. I'm just going to grab right here on my shelf. I'm grabbing it.
Tissue?
Nope, it's a coin because you lost that coin flip, right?
Right.
I lost the coin flip when I busted the WSOP circuit at Potawatomi. So we're gonna flip this coin. It's a quarter. We're going to see who's running worse, who's going to lose this. And, you can call it. Do you want to pick
or you want? Okay, I'll call it.
You call it, I'm flipping it. All right,
heads,
it's flipped.
Heads.
It is What do we got there? It's tails, Jeff. You are really running bad. You are running bad.
Well, when Chad Holloway runs better than you, this is a bad sign.
That got me excited for Hammond this weekend. That means
maybe,
I'm going to win some coin flips.
Maybe you'll go crush at Hammond. But major props to RunGood for putting on an excellent series, a fantastic week. Your guy from Survivor, Boston Rob, was there. It's great getting to know him. Jamie Kerstetter was a part of this. And so I wanted to take some time to chat with the boss man at RunGood, Tana Karn, about not only the stop in San Diego, but where he feels this tour is headed. Check out my conversation right now. All right, and just like that, joining us now, the president of RunGood, it is Tana Karn. He is in Joplin, Missouri. Tana, how is Joplin treating you today?
Oh, it's clear skies, 40 degrees. Couldn't ask for anything else.
Really, just like your last stop in San Diego. What was the motivation behind scheduling a West Coast stop for the first time?
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you just always have that dream growing up in the West. Like, I'm going to go to California one day.
Yeah.
And, we just decided it. All of a sudden I woke up in 2020 and was like, hey, let's go to San Diego. But, there was definitely a little bit more to it. But it was just the idea of being able to take what we kind of built here in the Midwest and the South for the tour and the following, and just wanted to see if the product and the series could work on the West Coast. And we ended up teaming up with Jamul Casino, John Rockford out there, and it was just like a perfect fit.
Yeah, I was there this last week, and I was just talking with Chad about this on the podcast earlier. I really thought it did work and it was a perfect fit. So how would you sum up the week overall in San Diego?
Oh, I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean, everything, of course, San Diego, phenomenal weather. The people are phenomenal. The food's phenomenal. I I actually have a prop bet on how many times I can say phenomenal on this podcast. So
Over's looking good, I think.
Over's looking real good. No, I mean, it was great. I mean, I couldn't ask for more. I mean, the room was absolutely gorgeous. The bar was, within like 10 feet from you.
That's a requirement on RunGood stops,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. There was a view of like all the mountains that you could basically just go on the balcony when you on breaks or, just right before the tournament starts, you can go grab a beer and grab some food. It was just a really cool setup, and it's I think it's probably one of the more undiscovered places too, because I know when I was talking to them, they had just opened up their poker room probably about roughly maybe like 9-10 months ago. So it's definitely one of those rooms where it's just like waiting to be discovered, and we just got lucky and stumbled upon it, and of course we had the series out there, and hopefully more people stumbled upon it, and they really showed out for us, and I don't think it could have gone any better.
I've played a decent amount of poker in Las Vegas over the last couple months, and not to bash any specific players or to bash the poker culture here, but it's a lot more serious. Nobody seems to really be having a good time. And I feel like this last week was refreshing. It was different. It was unique. What was the kind of feedback you got from the players? Because they all seemed just really happy to be playing in this poker tournament series.
Yeah. And, they were just excited that we were there. San Diego is a market that has, a huge poker following. They have some great poker rooms in the area. And the only thing is that they just don't have as many tours that go through there. And I'm not sure. I know they used to have RenCon for the circuit, for the WSOP circuit, and I don't believe they go there anymore. So they're just kind of in this vacuum of a tour that's been needing to go down in the SoCal area. We just got kind of fortunate to be able to fill that void. And, everyone was super excited to meet the ambassadors. It was actually kind of funny. We were joking around the entire time because, obviously you came and Jamie Kerstetter came, which, two of the greatest PokerGO announcers. Hopefully Brett Hanks will hear that, but, or Remco, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, Remco. And of course we had some star firepower. Obviously Boston Rob was there in attendance. He's on CBS right now for the season 40 Winners at War for Survivor. But the funny part is just like people were more excited to like meet you and Jamie Kerstetter than they were Boston Rob. And so like it was great because the entire time we got to needle Boston Rob about it, and of course he loved hearing that. So it was just a really cool atmosphere because like when you go in a place like that where like the main draw is somebody that's in poker, then there's a strong poker community out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yes, indeed, I am very famous, obviously. I do host a game show, Tana. I don't know if you've seen The Big Blind on PokerGo.
Oh, huge fan.
Yeah, okay,
I
good.
haven't missed an episode.
No, you really did sense this love for poker there. And it's I think it's easy for a lot of these tournament series to be like, oh, well, San Diego people have LA. It's very close. And sure, it's very close, but the traffic in Southern California can be such a nightmare that I just think San Diegans, I'll do that Anchorman bit of how in the world do you say that? I just think they really appreciated having a stop close to home. Let's chat about Boston Rob for a little bit. What was the kind of origins of that relationship between him and you and the RunGood Tour? How did things start?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of mutual friends. He was, friends with Daniel Lowry and Chris Conrad, who are ambassadors for the tour. And they basically just kind of invited him out to a stop we had in Downstream. And we just kind of hit it off. Like he saw kind of what we brought to the game of poker. Definitely the atmosphere of it being a little bit less serious and just more about being fun and being together, and the camaraderie of it all, where instead of, we're all trying to, stack each other and, we're all trying to have like a home game and drink beers and smoke cigars and, just have a good time. And I think that's kind of what he fell in love with. And it's kind of very cool because, he's been to the Tulsa stop and obviously the San Diego stop that we just had. And it's basically whenever he like comes out, he's like, you guys just like don't change. You guys are just always fun. And that's like the big thing that we always try to do is like, every stop that we go to, we want to make sure that, obviously the product is sound and it's a good time, and the tournament play is fun, and a lot of play can be had during the levels, but we also want to add that element of extra where you can't find it at necessarily the tables. It's about grabbing a beer with the ambassadors during breaks, or chatting them about hand histories, or just joking around, or grabbing dinner with them, and or even a quick bite, or just just make it more about the community and the poker community rather than just the tournament play. And I think that's a big difference maker that he saw in us, and that just kind of keeps him coming back. And I guess that's what keeps other players coming back as well.
You mentioned beer. Are you implying Boston Rob had a beer or two?
Boston Rob is a big he's a big beer drinker.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed by his prowess in downing Coors Light. There's definitely a lot of jokes about it this trip, and if Coors Light, if you're listening out there, you should definitely sign them to a sponsorship deal, because I'm pretty sure the Coors Light sales in San Diego like quadrupled that week than any other week. So
and to let our audience know, it's certainly saying something when Tana Karn says he's very impressed with anybody's drinking prowess. Let me just say that. So Tana, just to go back to what you were discussing about the series and what makes it stand out, you all were nominated once again for Mid-Major Tour Circuit of the Year. That's coming off a win last year. What does that kind of nomination, that kind of recognition mean to you?
Oh my gosh, it feels great, but it's extremely stressful.
Okay.
Like it's a weird thing. It's obviously as poker players, the biggest thing that drives us in the game is that we just hate losing.
Sure.
And then we have to learn, the discipline of folding. And so it's like always hard for like someone who's super competitive to fold at times, which probably gets me in more trouble than not at cash games. But just being nominated and being on that level with some of the other tours that are nominated as well is just, it's a dream come true. we're up there with the circuit, we're up there with Deep Stacks, with Poker Stars, their player championship, road to the Players Championship, and it's funny because it feels like we shouldn't be there, and it's one of those things where it's like these guys are having huge buy-ins and they're having huge fields, and they definitely have amazing merits to their own tours as well, but I think what we kind of found the secret to what we do and how we do it so successfully is because we focus more on the player experience over anything. And it's more about creating stuff that normally a player in the poker industry just doesn't have access to. And it especially ties into what we did for what we were nominated for with the Showbound season and then Game 7. The Showbound season, obviously partnering up with PokerGO was a huge deal, and just creating this almost renaissance as kind of what we saw as numbers skyrocketed during that season, and it's because we were sending players or giving players a chance to play on Poker After Dark, this pinnacle show that we all grew up watching, and giving somebody who just grinds 1-2 or plays the the $100 turbo at our events the window or the chance to get invited, to satellite on and play in front of all these cameras and with all these famous names like Maria Ho, Norm Macdonald. I mean, just the atmosphere. I mean, the guys who won just did not care who they were playing with, because they just were so excited just to be under the lights and the cameras, and just being at the PokerGO studios in general is something in itself. And all the way from getting the guy to put on your mic and getting all the tables and the chips and the cameras rolling, and and obviously the treat of getting to replay and watch yourself on TV or on stream, and then also getting to send that out to all your friends and all your family, and having final 3 tables in the World Series of Poker when you're going to get TV coverage. So everyone is tuning in. And it was just kind of that atmosphere and that experience that we wanted to bring to the table to the players. And I think that's kind of what kind of gave us the spotlight for being nominated. And the big thing is, we've always said, is that, it's not necessarily always about the money, which is a hard thing to say in the poker industry, but we really want to have people have people feel that big stage feel at an affordable buy-in. And whether it's with the photography that we have with Haley Hochstetler, who's been nominated for multiple awards as well for the GPI awards, and then also the live reporting through PokerNews that we have set up with Chad and Brent Harrington and Mark Slatcher, and it's just whenever anyone comes to a series, we want to make sure they feel like a rock star. We don't necessarily always want to focus on the big names. We want people to be able to have a piece of their own part of the internet where they can show their friends and family, because I mean that's something that I've always wanted. So if I've always wanted it, I feel like other people have wanted it. So that's kind of where we've really found our stride.
So let's continue to hit on the partnership with Poker Central. This year's tour stops will be awarding 2 exclusive $550 seats to play in a 64-player Pro-Am tournament at the PokerGO studio. I know it's pretty early on in the process, and that tournament will be at the end of the year, but how do you see that tournament playing out?
Yeah, no, just super excited. I mean, it's going to be one of those things where I don't think we'll truly understand what we put together until it's over.
Yeah.
And, it's 64-player person tournament. So what we kind of talked about when I was talking to Poker with Sam Simmons and Brent Hanks and Tyler Champley over there was, we had such a great success with Showbound, and just giving people an opportunity to play on stream at such a quality level. I mean, PokerGO, these guys are doing the same stream for ESPN, for the World Series of Poker, for Super High Roller Bowl. I mean, this is the pinnacle of streaming, and just giving that opportunity to our tour players. But more importantly is the partnership that we have with them is, with 64 players, 32 coming from the tour, and of course 32 celebrities, is we're giving more people an opportunity to be a part of that experience. And that's what we really want to do. Like last year in Showbound, we had 2 people qualify out of the all the people that we had satellited in for the qualifier for the 2 Poker After Dark seats. This time it's going to be even more. It's all the main event winners, it's all the casino champion points winners, and it goes twice through the tour, because we're doing a full year of it. And it's just something that, I hope that when it all happens and said and done, it's something that makes a really big mark on the poker industry, because we're tying in, celebrities and professional poker players and media personalities with, just poker fans, just people who love poker. And that's kind of what really defines the RunGood Poker Series. Is it's built from poker fans and people that love playing tournament poker and that atmosphere that we bring. So I think it's just going to be a really cool symbiotic a gathering of people, and the 4 people that we've already qualified through there's definitely a lot more details we'll have to hash out come December, but I think so far everyone has been excited. It's been well received, and I think as we get closer, the hype is going to build even more and more, and I'm just hoping that we can live up to it.
I think so too. I think people get more and more excited about it. But then again, you talk to people at these stops in February and they're already super fired up. Tana, why do you think this schedule just works the way it does? When you come in, you have a $135 pro bounty ring event and a deep stack ring event. You throw in a PLO event in there and then work your way into the main. Are you happy with how the schedule works out? Do you see changes? And why does it just seem to kind of click with players?
Yeah, it's something that's always been debated. Like, should we go longer? Should we go,
sure,
do 2 weekends, more tournaments? And the big thing that, we've always worked on with our schedule is that we always want to make sure that it's accessible to people that work. Because at the end of the day, it is hard to take time off to, not only do like a 10-day series, but even, our series, which is 6 days, but a lot of our start times incorporate a lot of people, whether or not you have day shifts or you have night shifts, you're going to still have access to beginning to be part and play in the series. And the 1 week is it's such a good little filler for a lot of these rooms where, in the poker world, there's so many tournaments that go on that, it's a blessing because poker players have this abundance of events that they can attend and choose from. But it's also a nightmare for some of the organizers that, we definitely don't want to always like compete on top of each other for dates.
Mm-hmm.
And, the bigger guys, the guys who are running those 1100s and the 1600s, they usually try to go about 10 days. And we wanted to come into the market and just be the guys that were a little bit more flexible, and that we were could really fit in and be a good fit for some of the smaller casinos that really just needed something in between certain dates. And we really shine that way, is that we were able to really have a little bit more flexibility on scheduling, and more importantly, it just fits better with our players.
And we talked about it a couple minutes ago, Global Poker Awards. I know you'll be there Friday, March 6th at the PokerGO studio. What do you think of the presentation last year, and how would you sum up how much you're looking forward to the show this year?
Oh my God, it was awesome. Just, it's phenomenal. Sorry, I forgot about.
Oh, right. Remember, yeah, you just hit the over.
It was phenomenal.
Congrats. Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. It was, it's one of those things where I always like to joke with people because, we have the trophy that we bring with us to all the tour stops, and we get to kind of show it off, and people kind of get excited seeing about it, just because a lot of the people that play as well have been following us since we even first started back in 2014. So it's really cool to see how we've progressed and grown and actually be recognized in the industry for what we've done. And, from what I remember last year is I remember that drinks were, there were drink coupons, but they actually weren't really strict on the coupons.
Not at all.
So,
yeah.
So this is like the one thing I'm trying to work on now is like, last year we definitely, for some reason, we just thought we were these huge underdogs and were long shots. And, you know, we definitely wanted to make sure we got our travel money in. And when I mean travel money, I mean our drinks worth for traveling there. Thank you, PokerGO, also for, you know, obviously buying the drinks. But, you know, we probably drank a little bit too much before our category came up. And we, you know, I had written something down, and it was kind of something that it was more like, oh, you know, I know we're long shots, but, you know, just in case, just like, you know, in case I hit my 5-outer, or in case I hit my, you know, 6-outer or whatever, that we'd have at least something to say. And you know, definitely going to work on probably not drinking too much until our category is over, you know, just trying to learn from experience. And hopefully, you know, with everything we've done, I feel like we have a really good shot at it. And it's you know, it's always hard because, you know, we're going up against, you know, I've said this before, but we're going against some of the titans in poker, you know, with WPT and WSOP and Poker Stars. You know, even though we did win it last year, we're still David and Goliath, and you know, it's cool. It's a cool thing, and I think it's gonna be thrilling when we get there. I'll probably be nervous. I'll probably drink too much again. I'll probably make the same mistakes, and hopefully, you know, everything comes out all right, and I can you know, put some words together for when, or if, I guess, if we go back to back. But if not, I think the coolest thing about the awards night is that there's just a bunch of people that are getting recognized for the work and the time they put in. And, you know, it's something that's not seen all the time, the behind the scenes stuff that make this industry move forward. And it's just a cool night to celebrate everyone's progress, everyone's accomplishments throughout the year. And, you know, you know, I'm the guy that you bring to a wedding that's going to clap as loud as he can. And probably hoot and holler for about just any category. And it's, you know, my wife gets embarrassed when you know, we watch award shows, because, like, I'm clapping at home, you know. It's like, why are you clapping? Like, they can't hear you. But I'm like, I mean, you know, you just get excited, and it's something that's really cool when you get to see a lot of your friends and your peers get nominated for stuff and win things. So I'm just looking forward for an overall fun night.
Well, we certainly look forward to that as well. And finally, Tana, how does it feel to get the chips in against me in PLO, absolutely drawing dead and somehow winning both runouts? I just want to know just how it feels. Tell me how it feels.
Well, Jeff, I mean, I really have only one word that can sum that up, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think I just hit the over on there. Yeah.
I think you did. Congratulations. And I got to tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of the San Diego trip except for that very minute. That was Max Payne. Thank you so much, my man, for doing this, and I'll see you in a couple weeks right here. All right.
Sounds good, Jeff.
Jeff, I got to tell you, Tana is one of my favorite people in poker.
Same.
I'm glad he got out there to the West Coast. I'm glad it was a fun, successful stop. And they're not even slowing down. Right now, as we're recording this, they've already kicked off their next stop at Downstream, which
it's just go for RunGood. Joplin this week, Tunica next week. And you heard me mention a brief tidbit about our Pot Limit Omaha cash game with Tana and Boston Rob and Jamie, etc. And back to the whole run bad thing. I'm sure everybody listening has already felt incredibly sorry for me. But I get it in on a Queen 7-7 flop in PLO with effectively King 7 and a flush draw against Tana's like 7-4 deuce 3 off. And Tana just hits a 4 on the first run out for a full house and then hits a 4 on the second run out for a full house. So that's why he crushed me. He got me. He crushed my soul. All right, Chad, you were at Parx for the Big Stax event. Give us the breakdown of that $1,100 event, which you mentioned at the top of the show. Pretty good turnout.
Yeah, so this was the 32nd edition of the Parx Big Stack. They've really built this up into a great regional tour that they host 4 times a year. I'll say this, as a reporter, it sucked because the structure is so good, the stacks are so deep, that there's so much play that I'm working my ass off, long hours each day. But from a player's perspective, man, I got to tell you, there's probably no better value. The Big Stack series was designed by Matt Glantz when he worked with Parx as an ambassador years ago. So, Matt knows his stuff, and he put together this great structure, this great series, and there is just a ton of play. I mean, the final hand of this event was a 6-bet
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was reading about that. I haven't seen a 6-bet shove in forever.
Yeah, and especially in the final hand of a tournament. Usually you're not that deep that it allows for that. But I think when they got heads up, they were 150 big blinds, so 75 big blind average per player in play in 90-minute levels. So they were deep. And, in the particular hand, it ended up being just a flip. It was, I think, pocket eights against ace queen, something like that. Anyways,
yeah,
just and it was just a classic flip. But given the deep stacks, the chips don't always go in right there. The eights could have just flatted the 3 or 4 bet or whatever it was and seen a flop. But the way they played it, they wanted to get it in, and respect there, because it made my night a little bit shorter.
You're like, okay, yeah, all in, call.
Yep. And but yeah, I can't say enough about the Parx. If you're looking for good value, definitely check it out. It was really easy. It flew into Philadelphia, took an Uber up there. It took about 25-30 minutes, like a $45-50 Uber. There's no hotel on site, but lots within the area. And the tournament areas, so they have 2 properties. They have the main casino with the main poker room, and then they have the East building, which is their old poker room that they've kept open for tournaments. And it's just space. They have space to work with at Parx in all facets, from the poker room to the casino to the land around it. So lots of space there, which is nice. It's more comfortable. And if you want to check out a good series, I highly recommend Parx. The next big stack series will be in April, the first 2 weeks of April. PokerNews will be there once again to offer live updates.
Congratulations once again to Ray Ross for taking home more than $125,000. All right, Chad, best of luck at Horseshoe Hammond, all right?
Thanks. Yeah, hopefully I have a report next week. Maybe
a report and a ring.
Yeah,
a report and a ring. That is the goal. All right, for Chad Holloway, for our good friend Sarah Herring, thank you all so much for watching, and deuces.